I'm not making this up. Back in the day, they really made pocket sundials. This is the Ansonia Sun Watch from the 1920s. A normal sundial has to be specifically installed at a certain angle and calibrated to your latitude and longitude. So how could they make it portable? Well, look up the nearest city on the chart here. I'm near New York, so I'll go with that. New York says 40 degrees latitude, so that tells me how far to pull out the pointy thing. Then to get my angle right, I turn the compass to point north, but I adjust 10 degrees west because of the magnetic deviation from true north. Then read the edge of the shadow. It looks like right at 1 p.m. Then do what it says on the chart. I'm in New York, so I subtract 4 minutes to adjust my time zone. It's August 26th, so I add 2 minutes to adjust for the seasons. And it's daylight saving, so I add an hour. So I get 1:58 p.m. Actual time when I made the video, 2 p.m. on the clunk.
I got something for you. Okay, so we were always taught in school that the Earth is ball, right? It's a globe. We're just standing here held on by gravity while the ball is flying around super, super fast in the vast amount of space, right? But have you ever thought about why they would say that the sea is sea level? Why would they say sea level? Why not sea ball? I mean, I'm just asking legit questions. I could tell you a story. When I was a little kid, I always used to wonder. I was probably like 5, 6, 7 years old. I'd go outside, and I lived in the woods. We had trees. We had forests around our house, right? I always used to wonder, why aren't the trees like flying past us? Why, when I went outside to look at stars with my mom at night, we would lay out on the back deck and stare up into the stars, right? Nothing changed. The Little Dipper, it never disappeared. It never went somewhere else. It was very stationary. It's been very stationary. I don't know, some things to think about. I mean, if you have a bowl of water, if you move that bowl, and then you stay still, the water's going to get even. It's going to get level, right? That's what happens. If you flip the bowl over, and if you pour water on it, or if you try to get the water to stay on, right? It's just going to fall off. Or how about this? If you have a soccer ball or a basketball, right, and it's wet, and you spin it on your hand, on your finger. It's a perfect example. If you spin it on your finger, what happens to the water? Does it fly off, or does it suction to the ball? Sizes shouldn't matter. Whether it's this big or as big as the Earth is. It's level, you guys. It's level. Common sense says it's level. Pull your head out of the matrix. Dig a little bit. Do a little research. All you gotta do is literally look up flat Earth videos. Watch it with an open mind. Watch it like as if you don't know anything about the Earth. And then you think about both perspectives. Really actually look it up. Research. Doesn't take a whole lot. And if you have a good head on your shoulders, you should be asking questions. Never stop asking questions about anything. Nothing. Because you shouldn't trust anybody. Not anyone that you do not know. So, I don't know, some things to think about. Do you really feel like the world is still a ball? Think about it. Do some research, for real.
Okay, I got a question for you. This is a genuine image, not AI, taken from a high altitude weather balloon. And the lens is not a fisheye lens. Let me just ask you, like, does the sun look local? Like, doesn't it look kind of like it's right over there? And you may be thinking that's crazy. But here's an image from a popular science magazine, which promotes the idea of, and they use either a fisheye lens or they have CGI'd this image. You have a university posting a similar picture of it having this massive curvature. But you can find hundreds and hundreds of pictures from, independent folks putting a balloon up there and seeing it be quite flat, and also the sun looking quite close. Now, this image you may think is just a willy-nilly thing, but in theory, with math, couldn't we follow these rays of light to their convergence point with simple math? Like, let's get a degree here. How far away would that sun really be? Because don't you think if the sun is, this is to scale, I typed in solar system to scale. The sun's that big, wouldn't the wavelengths of light be perpendicular, like straight, as opposed to shining in through the clouds at different angles? Now, it is interesting that most of the ancient cultures and civilizations used to think falsely that we lived on a non-moving plane. And there was never supposed to be an edge, by the way. That is a common misconception. Terra infinita, it could go on a lot farther than many may think. Now, were all the ancient cultures building structures we cannot build today, using mathematics and science that we can hardly fathom today? Sonic levitation, sound waves, laser beams, you name it. The Mayans have carved into stone a freaking propulsion device. You've seen that Mayan carving that looks like a guy sitting in a chair pointed up with like rockets shooting out of the back of it. We have UFOs in ancient drawings. I'm not saying they'd be from outer space. I'm pretty sure it says in one of my ancient books here that there is a firmament. But let me know your thoughts, like this whole sun thing. And then also that US Navy laser beam. Did you hear about this? The US Navy laser beam can hit a missile that's 50 feet above the water, going Mach 4, 100 miles away with a laser. 100 miles away would be 6,666 inches of curvature, because the Earth is supposed to curve 8 inches per mile squared. So how does this laser beam... Someone's lying, that's all I'm saying. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and follow for more.
If gravity pulls everything down, why do plants grow up? A seed buried in complete darkness still knows what to do. Roots move downward, but shoots rise upward. No signs, no instructions, and that sprout is fragile and flexible. Yet it lifts itself against a force said to hold oceans to a rotating state. And no, it isn't random. Every plant behaves the same way. A rooftop herb, a rainforest giant, a houseplant, even surviving on neglect. We were told it's light. The word phototropism. Plants follow the sun, but when you remove the light and grow them in controlled labs, they all still rise. Something inside them responds to direction, steady, consistent, and universal. When you watch any time lapse, stems rise smoothly, vines climb with intention, and sunflowers turn as if they're tracking time and not chaos. No struggle, no visible tug of war, just calm, predictable movement. Old gardening books barely question it. They call it natural rise, as if the world already agrees on which way is up. You don't have to choose religion to notice this. But when nature moves with such certainty, it raises a quiet question. Not what we're told, that this nature and universe happens by accident. We just stop asking, of which favors of God would you deny? The human eye feels powerful, right? It tracks light, colors, motion with precision, fast, adaptive, and remarkably sharp. But it shows us very little. Eagles, for example, see details from far away that to us is only haze. Mantis shrimp see colors that we can't even imagine, a wavelength outside human awareness. Snakes don't rely on light at all. They read heat, turning darkness into glowing shapes. And the bees follows all ultraviolet markings in the flower that pads will never notice. And cats reclaim the night, their eyes reflecting light to sharpen every movement in the dark. We see enough to survive, but not enough to understand. What we call reality is only a narrow slice of what exists. So which favors of Allah would you still deny till this day?
So last night was no different than most. I say my prayers, put my head on the pillow, and then my mind races about thoughts that, things I learned during the day. And one of them was last night, I was like, oh my God, I had an aha moment of a question I wanted to ask you, people who think that the sun is 93 million miles away. And I know they say the sun is closer to the earth in the winter, farther in the summer, but regardless, the sun is 93 million miles away. How, even if the earth is tilted and whatever they say, how is it that there's that much of a difference between the north and the south of the equator, in summer and winter, if the sun is 93 million miles away? Wouldn't it make sense if the sun is more local, if it's having that much of a difference of north and south of the equator? I mean, I know I have friends that live down there, and it's hot and it's cold here.
In my opinion, if the sun's heat traveled 150 million kilometers to a place like the Sahara, what stops it from going another 6,000 kilometers to Antarctica, huh?
If the Earth were a spinning ball 93 million miles from the Sun, it would be impossible to have such a hot summer on a continent like Africa and at the same time be a few thousand miles from the absolutely opposite cold conditions in Antarctica, which receives no heat from the Sun. Daya.
Why do long-distance airplane routes on the globe appear so illogical and irrational, yet on a flat Earth map they suddenly make perfect sense? We want to travel from New Zealand to Argentina, to Buenos Aires. There should definitely be a direct flight. Let's check Google Flights.
Auckland to Buenos Aires. There are no direct flights available, so what exactly are they proposing? Auckland to Dallas, then Dallas to Miami, and from Miami to Argentina, specifically Buenos Aires. Let's take a look at the map. Auckland to Dallas, Dallas to Miami, Miami to Buenos Aires. Why would anyone make such an incredibly huge detour? This is completely uneconomical. Let's take a look at a flat Earth map. Auckland is somewhere around here. Dallas to Miami, Miami to Buenos Aires. Well, now it makes sense. You can't make that flight on a single tank of fuel. You can check it out and verify it for yourself.
Alexander Gleason was born in 1840 and died in 1920. He was a flat Earth publisher and cartographer. Gleason popularized a world map based on the projection of Joseph Steer Christopher and published the widely distributed New Standard Map of the World. On his map, it was stated that it was scientifically and practically correct. And who was Joseph Steer Christopher? He was born in 1805 and died in 1894. Joseph Steer Christopher was a flat Earth cartographer. He created a flat Earth map. The inscriptions on his map read, "New Map of the World, scientifically, practically, and intelligibly correct, and without any antipodes." As Orsan and San generally level, the Pacific with the Atlantic, the Boythor Dune with the Indian Ocean, and China Seas all uniformly and perfectly level, without any rotundity. Thus, I have introduced you to the history and to flat Earth maps and their origin. These are maps that have nothing to do with globe projection. On the contrary, the globe is a projection derived from these maps.
flat Earth map dates back over 1,000 years. This map is credited to being created by a Persian astronomer. His name was Al-Biruni, and he lived between 973 AD to 1048 AD. It's the official map of the United Nations and also the United States Geological Survey. It used to be present in many places before the creation of NASA and the Antarctic Treaty in 1959. Here you see it with Admiral Byrd. This map has been restored by Dmitry from Russia with suggestions of mine, Idialenkar. Known by my YouTube channel Flat Earth Banjo, I asked Dmitry to include the Bermuda Triangle and Point Nemo, a place deep in the Pacific where NASA buries rockets. Then Robert Tozzi, a professional mapmaker, came along and enhanced the map even more. There are many people now selling this map online, but if you could order it from my online store, I would greatly appreciate it. Visit my online store now and order one of the items. I humbly thank you.